will meet the Kiwis and a team from Papua New Guinea in the Oceania qualifying round of the World Cup. As Karen Pratt reports, at stake is a place in the inaugural Women's World Cup finals to be played in China in November.
To achieve international success and recognition, you need a high-profile forum. And finally, our female Socceroos have that something special to shoot for.
Ever since I've been in the squad, it's been 2 years away, and I've been looking forward to it all that time, and at last, 1991, it's arrived.
Sydney solicitor Moya Dodd, a veteran of 15 internationals, while waiting for this World Cup chance, has seen a lot of change in her sport.
I think the side's now fitter and more organised. We've had a lot to do with the Australian Institute of Sport in the last few years, and they've written some training programs for us. They've done skinfold tests, sprint tests, vertical jump tests, every sort you can imagine, and they've picked out what they think is a good physical type for a soccer player, and they've tried to assist us in aiming towards that type.
There are still the exceptions to scientific rule, like 30-year-old Michelle Sawyers, who played in the first national tournament back in 1974.
It's got more professional. Before we were just sort of had to turn up on the plane, meet each other and go out and play. Now we have training camps to get to know each other. We have tours and the nucleus is kept together so we get to know each other's play.
Michelle inspires her peers, defying age and the demands of 2 children to maintain superb fitness. She's been a pioneer of the game and is determined to continue pioneering all the way to the World Cup before retiring.
I want to get there. There's no way in the world I want to lose.
They're in camp at New South Wales Soccer Headquarters, Valentine Park, contemplating what's to come. To qualify against Papua New Guinea and New Zealand would be one thing, but to take on the rest of the best in the World Cup is another, given Australia's size in the world women's soccer market. We're on a par with Britain as far as the importance of the game goes, while in Norway, 44,000 women play in a well-established national league. In West Germany, there are 480,000 players, and in the US, 3 million. But it's in Italy where the game has really taken off, with big crowds and sponsorships for women's teams of up to $500,000. Here in Australia, we have 8,000 players, and accordingly, the sport has been low-key and low budget. It's quite incredible that just a matter of days before the Australian team's most important international outing ever, their head coach is not out here on the training turf with them. The sad reality of it is that he has to earn a living. A former professional footballer, Steve Darby, is employed by the Australian Soccer Federation and as an after-hours hobby has coached the women's side for 2.5 years, against the odds.
Difficult environment, like for example when Eddie Thompson says goodbye to his Socceroo summer camp, they go back to quality coaching in the NSL and training 4 nights a week with good players around them. These girls go back to a mud heap, 240-watt light bulbs, and often play a coach themselves. So it's very difficult to get the level of fitness and the high level of technique.
How do you keep things going then?
How we've done it, we've encouraged them to play in men's sides. Most of them do in fact play in men's sides now or train with men. And then also they're on an individual fitness program.
He believes the top 6 women are good enough to play men's state league. Women like team captain Anissa Tan.
Anissa Tan is probably the best all-round athlete in the side. Very skillful, also very aggressive with her power, very powerful player. Ideally I'd like to use her in midfield, but at the moment she's probably one of the best defenders in the world.
Anissa takes her role as seriously as her male Socceroo counterpart and believes the women's game compares favourably with the men's.
As tough as the men, but I don't think really as dirty. People don't sort of go out and play payback. They'll play strong and hard, but not sort of the rough fouls all the time.
Anissa had hoped the appeal of the game would attract sponsors for the World Cup campaign. As captain, she put her name to this letter, going to companies asking for $1,000 to assist individual players to make it to China. They sent out hundreds of these letters and all the replies were negative, meaning that each of the players was going to have to fork out $350 just for the honour of representing Australia. Then in the final hour, the powers that be here at the Australian Soccer Federation stepped in with a $5,000 grant to make up the shortfall. Women's soccer will be good for all soccer, especially in the long run. It's not built on an ethnic base and doesn't attract crowd violence. Mind you, they don't get much of a crowd at all, but they're hoping that will change this week. It's their best chance yet to show off their skills and sell the game to the Australian public. Until that happens, money will always be a problem.
The money problem keeps some players out of the game. I mean, there are some players who don't even bother trying out for state and national teams because they simply can't afford it. And I'd like to see what sort of a side we might have if everything had been paid for all along the way.
For this series, 2 women have already lost their jobs. The rest have taken annual leave. They deserve the opportunity to play for their country without it costing them, and that will come as the sport grows. Soccer is one of the boom sports of the 90s, starting in the school system, ending up here for the elite women. And the Soccer Federation knows the benefits to be reaped from a successful female Socceroos outfit.
When we go into a primary school or a secondary school, we can hit 100% market. Every child in that class we can attract. Rugby League and Aussie rules are stuck with 50% of that market. That's all they can do. So we can possibly get more than 50% of that class of children. So it's essential that the girls see that it is acceptable to be a female soccer player.
You look at kids, 8 and 10 years old playing in organised teams. You look at them at 13 playing in state teams and you sort of think, well, if we'd have had those chances all along the way, where would we be now? But, it's no use just dreaming about it. You've got to go out and do it. And this is history in the making. This is the greatest opportunity that each of us has ever had.
I must confess, Maxie, I've never seen a women's soccer game, but of all the football codes that are played, that one seems to gel fairly well with women. The others I'm not quite so sure of, but that looks very natural. No,
there's not so much heavy body contact there as, say, rugby league or Aussie rules, but certainly, nimble feet, magic feet, good skills there, and the numbers from overseas, when you look at those figures, I mean, they absolutely amaze me. I think we should get right behind them.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Australia's first match on the road to China is against New Zealand on Monday evening. Kick-off is at 6:30 at Sydney's Marconi Stadium. There are matches throughout the week. The last, Australia against Papua New Guinea next Saturday. So let's hope our female Socceroos can be part of history making the first Women's World Cup. So get out there if you can and support them.
You get out there and give them a hand. They deserve that trip to China for $350. Gee, they shouldn't have to find that themselves. Later in the show, we'll have historic FA Cup footage, plus football results from all other codes. Wide World of Sports will resume right after this short break.